All right. We're back for another Wet Ink Wednesday, and this time I've got the man himself, Charles Ferguson-Avery, artist and writer extraordinaire, on the other side of my screen here. Charlie, say hello.
Hello, happy to be here.
So we were just talking just a second ago before we started recording. Like I had you on uh, this this channel in 2020. I think you were. I don't remember if the interview was you were any nominated yet at the time, probably though. But anyway, since 2020, you've done a lot of things, and we're going to talk about Never Going Home. But like, it's catch everyone up. If nobody, if the only thing people know about you is when they watched the video on the Wet Ink Games channel in 2020, what's happened in the like 2.5 years since then? Like, just highlights.
Well, honestly, in those last 2 years, I've probably done more projects and more work in the span of those 2 years than I have like the previous five. So if I had to pick a couple off the top of my head, the one big one was me and a couple of other people, more of a community effort, started Zine Month, which was a little bit of like a pushback against Zine Quest at the time. That is going to be on its third year running this next year. We worked on the second Into book, Into the Cess and Citadel, that clocked in at, I think, a hair under 300 pages. Between Alex and myself, we've done a multitude of zines, and then in addition to that, we are keep up with our freelance illustration work. So right now, I believe I have, well, working on last bit of artwork for Never Going Home. Uh, I have some work for DCC and a couple of other like smaller clients, including Emil Bovin of the Electrum Archives. And that's just this month.
Yeah, I mean that's like that's like living the dream, right? Like that's what you want, right? You want to be busy as an artist, a freelancer. You want to have your commissions lined up, right?
Yeah, busy and paid.
Well,
They
sure,
both
sure.
go hand in hand.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, people should pay their artists, but like,
Yes.
uh, uh, it's yeah. I mean, it's like that's the thing. I'm making zines. I'm taking commissions. I'm doing art. Like that's is this. I mean, I don't want to like jinx it or anything like that. But is have you like quote unquote made it now? Like, is this where you wanted to be?
A lot. I stick to what a lot of artists before my time have always said, which is that you never, nobody ever makes it.
Mm.
Everybody is always making it. And I'm very comfortable making it. And I don't think there will ever be a made it per se. Um, I think that's a good thing, though.
No, I can appreciate that distinction. That's 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 good. I think yeah, I can feel the same way about like the from the publishing wedding game side. It's like we've got people that want to work with us. We've got good ideas. Like we continue to make products and have plans out to the next product we're going to work on. Is it ever going to be like I'm done? I've done enough. Like no, I don't think so. And I guess you don't want to get to that point. All right. So I want to ask you specifically because this video will come out like during the Never Going Home campaign for we're calling the beginning and the end. It is the not culmination really, but like definitely we got the 1914 and the 1918, so that's the beginning and the end. And so that's our the promotional that this is being part of. So it's been probably I don't the dates get fuzzy, right? But it's been a couple years
Yeah.
since you revisited the Never Going Home stuff since we did the first round of dossiers. So like, is it? It's been years now. It's like 2017, 2018 that this started with the original uh uh October ink ink a day project, right? I mean, it's
Mhm.
now so you're looking at 6 7 years. This has been part of your life. What's it like to like have done all this other stuff and then you come back and you're like, oh, all right, I gotta draw gas masks again? Does it feel that way, or is the separation like able to refresh, right? Like what's
There is a little bit of comfort in it. After, especially after doing as many drawings of, gas mask, for lack of a better term, as I have, it is very comfortable to kind of like roll back into it. That being said, for this last particular batch, um, I tried to, especially now that I've had sort of years to, there's been an interim of years between like the last time I did Never Going Home artwork. Uh, I tried with this last batch to really capture a bit more of what I was doing in the original illustrations. So with that, a little less focus on like combat and a little more focus on the, sort of melancholy, the openness of everything. Um, I actually actively avoided doing like action shots in it if I could, and instead kind of like focus on the, well, making them look sad and uncomfortable, for lack of a better term. Um, because despite having, say 5 to 7 years of experience under my belt, there are a couple of illustrations from the original batch that um, I don't know if I'll be able to capture that same quality of art again. But I tried with this one, and it kind of made me realize like there are parts of me that have grown in different directions, and it's interesting to see.
Yeah. I mean, I think all the art that I've seen so far is fantastic. We've got most of the, at the time of recording, we haven't, it hasn't all been completed, but like all the stuff that has been completed is all like, oh, this is good.
Yeah,
I'm liking it. I'm
I got
liking it.
I think
It
5 or 6 more to do, and that's it.
yeah. The the I like I think it's interesting that you said that you're trying to focus kind of more on the melancholy, and I think it's extremely fitting for the 1914 book in particular, because it is sort of the, as we've said many times, it's the cloak and dagger sort of version of Never Going Home, with like, obscure information and spies, and like, is who are the people that are, who are these people the people that I'm working for, who are they working for, and like, it is sort of like a lot of unknowns, a lot of sneaking around and asking questions. So I think that idea of uh that's a more melancholy sort of thing rather than an action thing. I think that's very fitting, very fitting. And of course, the, I don't know, the America book is sort of like all sadness, so it's
Yeah,
it's just fitting for that too.
yeah. I'd actually say the 1914 book is actually, ironically, the most action packed of them. At least like in the illustrations I sort of did, like it has the one centerpiece color illustration is actually like I believe one of the only illustrations I've done of a gun being actively fired. Um, there might be a couple more hidden like throughout, but like that one sort of stands out as like it's the only one where like I actually show a gun firing off.
Yeah,
Um, so
it is. I mean, it is that's something that it makes me think. It's a good point. I hadn't noticed that. It is a lot of like people sitting around waiting to fire their guns or something like that. But that one is sort of like, I mean, I mean, people who've seen the Kickstarter page will have seen this piece of art because it's pretty dramatic. So I guess we don't really need to like keep it back as spoilers or whatever, but it's because the 1914 book is set in leading up to the events of the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand in Sarajevo. Like that's sort of like, I requested specifically, like, Charlie, do like your creepy version of this famous moment.
mhm.
And you did a great job of it, but it's sort of like, if there's only one gunshot to be shown in the whole corpus of the work, it's like that's the one. um
Yes.
I think that you know, at least symbolically, right, that is the very beginning of the conflict. And so yeah, that's I hadn't thought about that aspect of it being the only one. What is, I know there were some stuff that I asked for in the art this time that's like, okay, here's the specific reference, here's the specific historical photograph, just do your version of that. I think more so than I had requested that before. So I mean, I know you work with all kinds of people and stuff like that, but what is the, I don't feel like the original World War Occult book and then some of the other art has been so heavily referenced. I don't think that's a, not, this is not a criticism in any way. It just doesn't seem like that's a natural way that you have worked in the past. So what is it like to take that sort of specific direction about like, oh, I want this, but altered in this way? Again, it's something you do, but like applying that to Never Going Home, what is that sort of thought process like, or what, of doing the art that way?
Well, it's not too different than doing typical commissioned work or such like that. I mean, my everyday work involves like taking reference and reinterpreting it and all of that. I think interestingly, the original World War Cult illustrations actually had little basis in actual historical stuff. Like, people always pointed out like, oh, these guns like are actually, why is this like coded German soldier wielding a American gun? Why are they driving your British tanks and so on and so forth? And that was because the original ones were actually, it wasn't necessarily set in Earth, or the actual world.
Right.
It was kind of more of this like fantastical, ambiguous World War I place, full of demons and monsters and such like that. And so over time, a lot of the illustrations, now that it is with Never Going Home, it is set, on Earth at between the years of 1911 to 1918. A lot of like the artwork that I've done since then has sort of like changed in ways to sort of fit with that, especially with the 1914 book, making sure that it's like, well, these people now have to be set in a time and a place. Right. And so because of that, I have to take reference from time and a place, which not too difficult. Like I said, I do that for work every day.
Sure. All right. Well, you mentioned some of your other work. Unless there's any other pieces of Never Going Home, this new set of art that you want to specifically talk about, that you're proud of or anything, I'd like to ask you about some of that other work that you've been doing.
There's one or two illustrations that I am, like I said, like I was trying to like capture what I was doing in the, back in the yesteryears of 2012. And there were one or two pieces that like I feel like I was successful in that, whether that was on a craft value or just I thought they were good. The most recent one is the cover for, I believe it is called Spit in the Dirt, the 1918 book.
Yeah.
And it's, just kind of one of my stereotypical watercolor paintings, that I think I just like, just on a craft level, I captured like what I was trying to attempt with it. There was another piece of, I believe it was, let me check my notes here, Private Henry Johnson.
Yeah.
And I had some complicated feelings about it because, once again, like with the original World War Cult, it was supposed to be an abstraction of reality. And that way I didn't have to, draw any actual people who were involved in it. But now that it is set in a time and a place, that's something that happens. And because he was an actual person and because he suffered actual things, like I had a bit of an internal debate of whether how I portray him. And so I made it a point of actually not showing his full face. And actually, as like the illustration goes up, it's sort of, you just get like hints of his like, mouth and his expression. And that was just kind of as like one, like that way I don't have to worry too much about like capturing his likeness, and also putting a little bit of distance between, a portrait of him, an actual person, and these fantastical events, which, that's my own ethos in that matter.
Yeah.
And then like, I guess in regards to like not Never Going Home artwork,
What before we move on,
yeah.
I just want to, I would like to agree that that solution, because there is such a focus in Never Going Home on the facelessness of warrior of soldiers and stuff like that, that solution of sort of like the picture cut, it's a pan up almost and it cuts off before you see his whole face, I think is a great solution to what you were just talking about kind of bringing in this is a real person, but also not violating that sort of like quote unquote rule about all the soldiers are faceless. So I think you did great. It's a great decision.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, talk about any of the other stuff that you've done that you're working on recently. I know you've got you've got new zines. You could talk some about Cess and Citadel, which I know is a huge project. Like you say, it's nearly 300 pages of amazing art and writing and tables and all kinds of stuff. Like, but what excites you about what you've been up to in the last, I don't know, 8 months or so?
I mean, the most exciting part is that I can keep doing it. But then also there is the aspect of like I finally kind of in a place where I can I have a little bit of professional leeway and also some finances to make sure that I can actually start creating stuff that isn't necessarily just about chasing money and fulfillment and stuff like that. I can start to try to like figure out like, well, what do I want to make and take some gambles on that. uh as far as like Cess and Citadels are concerned, like I mean, Alex and I had a blast working on that, at least until the end when we were like burnout and ready to just like push it out of our sights for as long as possible. But looking back on it, like we're both incredibly proud of the writing and art we did for it. And after that, we took a little bit of a hiatus just to sort of recharge. And now we're both back making. We each did a zine that I released mine. Alex is going to be releasing theirs soon. Alex is called Guidebook to the Grotesque. Mine was Verm Hack, which was kind of a fun little experiment with rules that I hope to sort of expand on. But then the big thing we have happening at the end of this year is a project I've been working on for about 2 years now called Ave Noctis, which is a mega dungeon. So it's, I believe, at this point, a little over 200 rooms. Most of the typing's done. I caved in and asked Alex for help with like, hey, if, I'm going to be a bit swamped. Is it okay if like, you do some illustrations and maybe some writing? And they were, more than helpful with like typing up a bunch of the NPCs and some of the setting. And I think that's going to be, we're hoping to have that released at the end of the year. And so,
then I want to ask about it then, because like Mega Dungeon, so is it like I mean, I know is it kind of like the maze from a couple years ago where it's just like it's got all the rooms and they're all numbered and you kind of roll and like you randomly encounter the rooms in a certain order? Or is it like, no, it's this room connects to this room and that secret door leads into this room and here's the map and it's exactly this way? Like, or how does it work as a, like, what is the playthrough style process there?
It is a specified layout. So I would put it in line with some of the older generation, like old school modules. I mean, it is meant for like OSR, old school Renaissance style games. And it is like, it's like, this room connects to this room, which connects to this room. And I'm trying to go about doing it in a way that isn't like this just assault of information. Like as much as, a bunch of those like, very old modules are iconic. A lot of them, like, now that we've had like, I mean, honestly, 30 to 50 years of like, looking at them, digesting them, and interpreting them, I'm trying to like, bring my own like sort of design ideas, some streamlining to my own like, massive dungeon. Because, yes, it's 200 rooms, which is an enormous amount of information. How is that presented in a way that's easy and feasible to like understand at the table? And especially running it. Like, I hate preparing for games, so I want to make sure everything that I make, I could run just by like picking it up and opening it, and doing the same for anybody else wanting to do it.
It's good.
And yeah, so it's hopefully we'll have that done by the end of the year. We're about 3/4 of the way through. Admittedly, editing is going to take like a whole month for that because
Sure.
unlike writing some of the previous books we've done, we actually have to be very careful about balance with it. Of like, this level is easier than this level, which provides this much more treasure than this level,
Yeah.
so on and so
That's
forth.
that's definitely harder to get all those balance points right than it is just sort of like, I don't know, it's a bunch of random tables. You figure out how big the building is. That's a yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I think I cut you off to get some more detail about that. What was the name of that project?
Oh,
What's the
official title is Ave Noctis.
you said that, but I it slipped out already. Great. Well, we'll put that. Yeah, Ave Noctis sounds great. And I think you were going to mention one of the things. We probably got time for another thing before we finish up here. I think I cut you off. You're about to jump onto another project.
Oh, I mean, the next project, of course, is then we have the final book of the Into series,
Ooh.
which that one we are not starting until next year, just to give us a break from,
Oh yeah,
for me, finishing up the Mega Dungeon, and then also just to like, so we kind of have this year to like prepare what our like timeline is of like, okay, we've already got like a little bit of an outline going. We'll type for the first 3 months, edit, then illustrations, or be bouncing back and forth sometime in between that. Um, and yeah, I mean, I can't say too much about it because, like I said,
sure.
we're still outlining it.
Right, right. I mean, it's not like a secret that is sort of like anticipated for the future. So there are certainly, I'm sure you've seen them too, but there are people that are like already excited about what that book will entail, even though it's now, it's a couple years away at least. If but the 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 strength of Into the Cess and Citadel, I think, is will just yeah, you'll probably just step up again. You'll probably just keep doing even better. No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah, well, it's like Cess and Citadel and Into the Weird and Wild. We want to make sure that it is in line with those books, but also something kind of wholly different unto itself, and not just in this setting. Um, the It's a little complicated to explain, but where I'm trying to set it up as almost a game about preparing for a siege,
Interesting.
specifically a siege against like a coming storm.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's a
Once
great
again,
teaser. Yeah.
yeah, and once again, we'll see how much of that makes it because, Alex and I both work on this, and I will come in with something harebrained and sort of high concept, and Alex definitely sort of pins it back into like, look, we have to keep this feasible, or at least in a way that can be easily understood and played at the table.
I mean, I'm sure you're both very talented, so I'm sure you'll figure it out. But that's a great tease, a great high pitch. Like it's a siege. You got to prepare for the storm. That would be different in feel than like exploring the city or surviving the woods. It's a different sort of survival. I think that sounds great. That sounds great. I'm excited even more now. So this has been great conversation. We don't want to take up we don't let the video go on too long. I'm sure we could continue to chat, but let's start to close it down. And I want to thank you for your time, and I want to say that where can people find any of the stuff that we've been talking about? Like shout out all of your places to buy, your places to follow, whatever. Where are you on the internet?
So for the most part, you can find, for those looking for digital copies, we're on Drive Through RPG. If you look us up on itch.io, that's where a majority of our work is. We also have an online store at feralindystudio.com. And we are hoping to start up a blog or something where we can kind of like share like our process or um, projects we've worked on, or some actual plays of stuff that we're doing in the future. But for now, those are the three main sites. If you look up Alex Coggin or myself online, you'll find our socials there. Uh, yeah, we're just look for us at conventions.
That's right. That's right. Conventions. Yeah. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you for chatting to me about your work and your ideas. It's been great. And say goodbye to the people watching.
Thanks for tuning in.